We all want to be safe. We also want to be free. And now, in response to terrorism, most every presidential candidate promises that he or she will protect us from ISIS. They'll say they'll do more than Obama did.
We won't weaken them. We won't degrade them. We will utterly destroy them. We will carpet bomb them into oblivion.
The United States should not delay in leading a global coalition to take out ISIS.
Yes, take ISIS out. But how? To utterly destroy ISIS, as Ted Cruz just said he'd do, we'd have to find and kill every terrorist in dozens of countries. How is this possible? And might our attacks create more terrorists, new terrorists? We'll debate that tonight. But we start by debating what America can do to find terrorists here at home. The NSA had been searching for them by collecting our phone records. Senator Rand Paul helped stop the bulk data collection by filibustering it.
I don't have a problem with going after terrorists and getting their records, but you should call a judge.
He held the floor for 10 hours, won some public support, and the NSA did eventually end its mass collection programs. But now, after San Bernardino and the attacks in Paris, Senator Marco Rubio accuses Senator Paul of gutting American intelligence.
We would want access to these people's phone records because it would give us clues as to who they were working with, who probably may be involved in plots themselves later on down the road. Rand Paul wants to get rid of that program.
Senator Paul joins us now. He says those phone records would give clues as to who terrorists work with, people who may be involved in plots now.
Well, you know, if Senator Rubio were present a little more doing his job in the Senate, he would realize that this bulk collection of data, this warrantless collection of data, is still ongoing and has been ongoing through the Paris tragedy, through the San Bernardino tragedy, and also through the Boston bombing. Not one terrorist act was thwarted. Not one terrorist was caught through this program. And really, I think what we've done is traded our liberty for a false sense of security. And I really don't think Marco Rubio has it correct. I think he's just a little too eager to give up our liberty, and I don't think it's made us safer at all.
Later in the program, a guest will say it takes 24 government employees to watch one terrorist subject 24/7. From that point of view, if you're looking for guys who might kill us, it makes more sense and seems less invasive to look for internet patterns of phone calls.
Apparently it doesn't work, though, and apparently we've been doing it for a decade and we still have attacks. And if you want to see what would happen if we gave even more freedom to the intelligence agencies, look at France. They have our bulk collection, our warrantless program, they have it on steroids. They look at everything, and yet the Paris tragedy unfolded without knowledge of this. Most of the times we've been able to thwart terrorism or stop them in the act, it's been from human intelligence.
Okay, accepting that human intelligence is best and data collection may not have worked so far. But can you explain to people what the problem is, who say, so what, this stuff is flying through the air anyway. I don't care about if they know who I've talked to, the phone company knows anyway.
The best way to think about metadata is 2 Stanford students had people put an app voluntarily on their phone to just record their metadata, how long their phone calls were and who they called. But you know what they determined is about 85% of the time they could tell your religion. Nearly 100% of the time they could tell who your doctor was. Most time they could, by intuition or deduction, determine what kind of medicines you were taking, what kind of diseases you had. That's pretty personal information. I don't think everybody should see that. Also your credit card information, that's metadata. Is it personal whether or not I gamble, whether I smoke or whether I drink, whether or not, what kind of magazines, if I read Reason magazine, am I somehow, to be followed because I believe in liberty and the free market?
So far you haven't moved your fellow Republican presidential candidates. Here's Governor Chris Christie saying next time there's an attack, Rand Paul should be on the stand.
He should be in front of hearings in front of Congress if there's another attack, not the director of the FBI or the director of the CIA.
You should be on the stand.
You know, that's pretty juvenile. There's also people who politicians, for their own sort of self-gain, will want to beat their chest and appear as if they're the most patriotic. But I don't think it's patriotic to give up your rights. I think it's patriotic in difficult times to say, you know what, I will defend the Constitution, I will defend the Bill of Rights, and just because I am fearful or I don't want to be one of those who's going to spread and sell fear in order to ultimately live in a police state. I just think that's wrong.
Well, let's talk about the refugees briefly. That they inspire fear in some. Donald Trump has now said, don't take anyone who's a Muslim. You have said we should stop letting people in from 34 countries.
At least temporarily. If we can't get a handle on who's here and what their intentions are, I think maybe you have to slow it down a little bit.
So you might stop it for how long? A month? 4 months? How is what you're saying different from what Trump says?
Ours wouldn't be a religious test. Ours is based on areas of terrorism and areas of people who have expressed a hatred for the United States. North Korea is also on the list. So ours isn't directed towards religion. It's directed towards a risk or a threat of terrorism being imported into our country. But having rules about who comes and who enters and how easy or how hard it is to come, I think is pretty reasonable. And I think most Americans do want that.